Welcome to a mysterious and magical world. Have you ever wondered, is death truly the end, or is it simply a door opening to a mystical reality that we don't fully understand? On this channel, I will take you on a journey to explore strange near-death experiences, where people who have stood between life and death return to share things that science cannot explain. Get ready for unimaginable experiences, mysterious lights, strange encounters, and supernatural phenomena you've never heard of before. Each video is a journey into a world where the laws of nature are broken, and one thing is certain, you won't be able to take your eyes off. If you love thrilling stories and want to learn more about death and the miraculous mysteries beyond our reach, don't miss any video. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss this exciting adventure. Are you ready? The purpose of a breath. I am John Dolan, an ordinary man born and raised in New York City. I have always pursued grand things in life, from when I was a boy to when I became an adult. Growing up in a middle-class family, I always felt that my life could have a larger impact, a story that would make people look up. I worked hard, learned, and dedicated myself to building a career, and now, I have become a successful television producer, creating shows that not only capture viewers' attention but also change the way they perceive the world around them. My job requires constant creativity, facing immense pressure, and sometimes, an overwhelming loneliness. Throughout my life, I have witnessed countless faces and heard countless stories, but deep down, I still felt something was missing. I have always been a skeptic about the mystical, the strange stories that people often speak of when talking about experiences beyond understanding. And then, I was no longer myself. In that moment, when my heart stopped beating, when I shattered into pieces of soul, I entered a world without time, without space. Everything I had known, everything I had believed, suddenly became faint, like distant images in a dream I could never wake up from. On January 28, 1999, I sat on an international flight, my body exhausted after a week of intense work. As a successful television producer, I had completed an important project and was on my way home, looking forward to resting. Sleepiness began to overwhelm me, and I started drifting off into a dream, but just for a brief moment, a sharp pain suddenly exploded in my chest. This chest pain wasn't like the times before, when it was simply due to stress or fatigue. It was something clearer, something far more dangerous. I tried to breathe deeply, but it felt like everything around me began to fade, a wave of fatigue pulling me down. Suddenly, my heart stopped beating. Everything changed in an instant. It felt as though I was falling into an invisible void, with no trace of space or time, as if I had stepped through an unseen wall into another world. In that brief moment, I was no longer John Dolan, the television producer, but merely a soul, an ethereal being drifting in endless space. I couldn't see myself, nor feel my body anymore. All that remained was a steady sensation, floating in an eternal space. Everything around me emitted a brilliant light, but not like any light I had ever known. It wasn't sunlight or electric light, but something that came from a deep, boundless place, as if born from another dimension that I could not fully comprehend. This sensation didn't confuse or frighten me. Instead, I felt a profound peace, as if I had transcended all the suffering and worries of life, completely free in a limitless space. All my thoughts, worries, and doubts seemed meaningless. I didn't know where I was or who I was, but one thing was certain, I was no longer alone. There was a great presence there, in the dim darkness of this space. A mysterious power I could not imagine, yet it made me feel safe, as if I were in the embrace of something far greater than myself. Then another feeling took over me, a voice, not sound, but a sensation that passed through my soul, gentle yet full of power, conveying something incredibly important. It said that everything I had ever known, everything I had lived, was not just what my eyes could see. What I was about to experience, what I would come to understand, would be the awakening of a part of me I had never recognized before. And then, in that moment, I began to realize that I wasn't just standing before an open door to the infinite, I was also a part of that infinity. The freedom I was experiencing was unlike anything I had ever felt throughout my life. It was overwhelming, boundless, as if I were falling into an endless universe where every concept of space and time faded away. I could no longer clearly feel my body, as if my soul were escaping from all physical constraints, dissolving into a place without distinction, where there was only presence. And then, from the deep darkness of countless endless nights, a gentle, warm light began to glow, illuminating this space with a color that couldn't be described in words. This wasn't the light of the sun or of distant stars, but a light with a soul of its own, soothing every pain, healing every wound in my soul. From within that light, a figure gradually emerged. At first, it was vague, like a soft cloud, but slowly, it became clearer. I couldn't describe its shape because this being wasn't a form I had ever known. It had no eyes, no mouth, no human shape. But it was filled with an unconditional love and warmth that I couldn't resist. An overwhelming sense of peace washed over me, as though I were enveloped in a sacred light that could not be violated. I no longer felt fear, no longer felt lost. All the things I had once worried about, all the fears I had once had, dissolved into this endless space. Then the voice came again, but not from outside, it came from deep within my soul. It wasn't an ordinary voice, it was a feeling, an understanding that couldn't be explained by words. I didn't need to do anything, didn't need to say anything. It came directly from a place beyond human comprehension. "You don't need to be afraid," the voice gently echoed in my mind, like a soothing wave comforting my heart. "You are on the right path, even though you are not aware of it." I looked into this vast space, where there were no borders, no beginning or end. Everything blended together, as if the universe and I were one. I no longer perceived myself as a separate entity but only felt a deep connection to everything around me. The souls that had passed, the souls that were living, and the souls yet to come, all of them breathed together in a single, invisible, yet miraculous breath. And in that moment, I realized that death was not an end, but just a stage in the eternal journey of the soul. "You will return," the voice spoke again, but this time, it wasn't just comforting words. It felt like a profound reminder. "But you won't be the same. You won't live for the fleeting things, for the small matters. You will see the meaning in every single moment. Everything in this life has a purpose, and you will live your life with a new purpose. You will understand that all the suffering, all the challenges, are valuable lessons that help you grow." I felt the power of those words, as if they were entering deep into my soul, touching every dark corner, illuminating the things I had overlooked. This feeling was unlike anything I had ever experienced in my life. It wasn't just understanding, it was an eternal experience, as if I had been taken to a place I once knew but had long forgotten. A place where all the pain of this life was nothing more than passing shadows, where challenges were opportunities to find my own light. I felt myself being drawn into an endless space, where there were no borders or dividing lines. No time, no space, only the sensation of absolute freedom. Everything around me was hazy, as though I were floating in an unimaginable void. I could no longer feel my body, only the absolute presence of myself in this eternal realm. Suddenly, I found myself standing before a hazy wall, but this wall was not physical. It was a flow, an endless sea of memories, emotions, and moments throughout my life. I couldn't understand how I could see all of this, but each memory, each feeling was like a sacred flame burning brightly inside me. Every moment was vividly present, not just as an image, but as the raw emotions I had experienced, moments of joy, painful times, and even unspeakable sorrows. At one point, I realized that I wasn't just seeing memories, I was reliving those emotions. I felt the love of the people I had met, the regret for things I hadn't done, and the moments I had overlooked, as if I was living my entire life all over again. It was a strange sensation, as if I were drifting into an ocean of emotions, and everything I had ever been was converging here. Then, in that eternal moment, a miraculous light appeared. God, in a mysterious and graceful form, appeared before me. He didn't have a clear physical appearance, but he was a presence gentle, invisible, yet powerfully strange. He didn't speak through words, but through emotions, through a deep connection in my soul. "You are not meant to work for a singular purpose," God said, "not through sound, but through a feeling that spread throughout the space. Your life is not a series of things you must achieve, it is a journey of learning how to love, to connect, and to give to others. Every living being, no matter how large or small, has a role in this universe. You are a part of the whole, and every action you take affects the flow of life. These words echoed in my mind, as though I had heard them from a place far away, but they felt so close they were impossible to express in words. Every word, every sentence, was like a sacred flame lighting up inside me, making me realize that everything I had once considered important, all the worries and regrets, were not essential. The only thing that truly mattered was love and connection. They are the path to rebirth. When I returned to life, everything was the same, nothing had changed, except for me. I was no longer the tired, exhausted person constantly chasing endless ambitions and worries that never stopped. Now, I see the world with new eyes, not as a rushed race, but as an opportunity to feel, to love, and to connect with things I had never been aware of before. The people around me are no longer just faded shadows or familiar names and faces. Now, I see them through a different lens, and each person carries deep meaning, a unique story that I had never truly understood. Their gestures, their glances, their words now feel like a language of their own, one that I am beginning to understand in a miraculous way. Every glance seems to hold the entire universe, as if I can hear the whispers of their souls. I sense that love is no longer just an abstract concept. It's not something I need to search for or chase. Love is a great force, hidden in every moment, in every breath, in every gesture of those around me. Love is not something that can be grasped, but something that encompasses everything, like an invisible wave, spreading across the universe, connecting all souls together. What I am feeling is not just this world, but other dimensions, invisible worlds I've never seen before. Death is no longer something I fear. Now I understand that death is just part of the endless cycle, the next step in the journey of the soul, a transition from one world to another. I no longer feel like I am separate, but part of a great flow, where all souls are connected, harmonized. And in this moment, I begin to understand that nothing is ever truly lost. The souls that have passed still exist somewhere around me, in the winds, in the dreams, in the memories I have never forgotten. I can feel their presence, sensing that they are still watching over me, protecting me, and guiding me on this journey. Everything is connected, everything carries the presence of love, a love that I never fully understood before, but now I feel it more clearly than ever. When I returned, it wasn't just a physical return. A part of me had changed, and that is something I cannot deny. I had stepped out of the fog of worldly distractions, where everything revolves around small, trivial goals. Life became different when I began to view it from a deeper perspective, where everything holds meaning, where I no longer just exist, but truly live in each moment I am experiencing. The relationships within my family, the simple conversations, the moments spent with loved ones, they are no longer things I take for granted. They've become gifts, with every moment spent with them holding immeasurable value, as if they are precious jewels I cannot overlook. Before, I was always in a hurry, always chasing distant dreams and never-ending goals. I had forgotten that life isn't about what I can grasp in my hands, but about what I live in each moment. I realized that nothing is more important than living fully with love, gratitude, and sincerity. Things I once considered small and insignificant have now become the focal point of my life. I've begun to listen to words I once ignored, to notice faces I once overlooked. Every action, every gesture of sharing, now brings me a sense of peace I had never experienced before. A powerful feeling arose within me. I couldn't keep these experiences to myself. I had been awakened, and I knew I needed to share my story so others could find their own path. I decided to write a book, not just about what I had gone through in my near-death experience, but also about the profound lessons I learned from my encounter with God and the unconditional love I felt. I realized that each breath, each heartbeat, is a priceless gift from life. I was no longer a television producer. I became a teacher, not because I had special knowledge, but because I had lived through experiences that revealed deep truths about life. I shared my story not to assert myself, but to inspire others, helping them rediscover their own purpose, just as I had found mine, and my book became a source of inspiration, reaching those who had lost their way in life. People trapped in the cycle of empty relationships and meaningless work came to me, their eyes filled with doubt but also longing. I told them about my encounter with God, my awakening, and how I realized that everyone can find their purpose in love and genuine connection with the world around them. We don't live just for personal goals, I said during one of my talks, my voice calm but confident. We live for love, for connection, for what we can give to each other and to this world. Those words came from my mouth, but they seemed to echo in my mind. I wasn't just sharing what I had gone through, I truly felt that this was the purpose. I had found a purpose not to seek for myself, but to live for something greater. The people who listened to me, they looked at me, their eyes reflecting doubt, but also longing. They were waiting for something, a kind of awakening like the one I had once experienced. I clearly remember one afternoon, when I stood before the crowd, feeling the deep connection between myself and those people. I knew they were searching for an answer to the question they had carried throughout their lives: what is the purpose of life? And all I could share with them was what I had learned: every breath we take has meaning. We don't live just to exist, but to connect, to love, to give beautiful things. As I spoke those words, I could feel a change within myself. Each word wasn't just to convey a message, but to spark, to awaken something deep inside each person. Life is not a series of personal achievements or empty goals we set for ourselves. It's about what we can give to each other: love, sharing, and the connection between souls. I no longer see life through the lens of success or fame. I understand what the true purpose of each breath is: its connection, its love, and it's what we can contribute to this world. And I know, I not only found my purpose, but I also want to help others find theirs. Even though my life had taken a completely new turn, an unforgettable transformation, there were still difficult roads ahead that I couldn't avoid. The change within me was undeniable, and I knew that not everyone would easily accept these new ideas. Sarah, my wife, whom I loved deeply, was someone I felt a distance from, an invisible barrier that I couldn't quite understand. She didn't know about the miracles I had experienced, didn't understand that I had met God and felt unconditional love in that eternal space. And I realized, even though she loved me, that love wasn't enough to fill the doubts and fears I saw in her eyes. "I don't understand you anymore, John," Sarah said, her voice breaking into pieces. Her eyes, full of fear, watched me with suspicion. "You're not the man I married. You've changed too much." Those words were like sharp knives piercing my heart. I looked into her eyes, feeling the pain in every word she spoke. I couldn't blame her because I knew she couldn't fully understand what I had gone through. How could I possibly express the deep feelings inside me when I couldn't find the words to explain them? That fateful flight, those absolute moments when I lived in God's unconditional love, those were things she couldn't see, couldn't understand, no matter how many times I told her. But I understood that I couldn't force her to understand right away. The love I had experienced in that eternal universe wasn't something that could be easily explained by logic or words. I knew my change didn't just affect me, but also those around me, especially Sarah. But I also understood one thing: I wasn't changing to distance myself from her. I was changing to live for a new purpose I had never known before. A purpose where love was everything. "You will understand, Sarah," I said, my voice soft but firm. I took her hand, feeling the warmth from her touch, like a promise. "I haven't changed to push you away. I've changed because I've realized that we live to love each other, to cherish every moment we have together. I will still be the husband and father you love, but I will also live in a way that aligns with the true purpose of life that I now feel." In the following nights, I spent more time talking with Sarah. I didn't expect her to immediately understand everything I had gone through, but I hoped that through every story, through every word I shared, she would feel the change in me, even if it was just a small part. I told her about the miracles I had seen, about the intangible emotions I felt when I stepped into a world I never thought could be real. But I knew that those words, those stories, couldn't fully convey the feeling I had lived. I couldn't make her see what I had seen, but I could hope that over time, she would feel the change in me through my actions, through the way I lived each day. I wasn't in a hurry. I knew that sometimes, all it takes is giving each other a little time and space so that each person can understand what's happening in the heart of the other, and love will rise again, stronger, more resilient. She wouldn't be the same person I once knew, and I wouldn't be the same person she once loved. But I hoped that in this journey, we would find each other again, find a new kind of love, one that had been tested through the trials of life and change. Though the road ahead may be full of obstacles, I believe love will guide us through. Love is not about perfection, but about accepting change and growing together. And I will always be here, by Sarah's side, never leaving her alone in the challenges of this life. I can't forget the feeling when I first realized that the eternal love I had experienced was not just a personal emotion, but an endless stream of energy, spreading and connecting all of us. That feeling not only changed me, but it also affected the people I met after returning from the other world. I never imagined that my life would lead me to people through whom I would see parts of myself. One of the people I met was Mark, a middle-aged man who came to me during a seminar, carrying the wounds of a lonely and failed life. He had never found happiness in relationships and had never felt the meaning of life. When he shared his story and told me that my book had changed his life, I felt a deep sense of emotion, like a small flame flickering to life from the ashes in his heart. "Your book opened a door I didn't know I had locked up for so long," Mark said, his voice full of gratitude. He found purpose in simple things like helping others, taking care of himself, and loving those around him. Mark's words were like a fresh stream, soothing my soul and reminding me of the magical power of connection and kindred spirits. Through every person I meet, life teaches me that we are all searching for something similar: love, understanding, and a sense of connection. Even when I think I have figured it all out, someone like Mark reminds me that life is an ongoing journey of exploration and learning. Love is not the destination, but the process, the small actions we give to one another. And in the end, we can all help each other realize that the purpose of life is connection and infinite love. I can't stop here. The feeling of meeting kindred spirits like Mark has made me more deeply aware of the miracle of each life. Each one of us has the ability to change, and when one person changes, the whole world changes along with them. As the first light of dawn filtered through the window, I slowly opened my eyes, feeling a new world around me. For the first time in many years, I woke up without any burdens on my shoulders. The feeling of relief and peace flooded my heart. I sat motionless in the armchair, my eyes unfocused, gazing out the window. The sounds of birds chirping from the garden echoed, fresh and full of life, as if the universe itself was beckoning me forward. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the earth, the morning air, filling the space around me. Everything seemed to be cleansed from the dust of the past, and I felt as if I were living in a different world, a world where everything has meaning, even the smallest things. Looking at myself, I realized that before, I had missed so much. All my efforts had been focused on distant goals, achievements that were never enough. But now, I understand that life is made up of these simple moments we sometimes don't recognize until it's too late. I no longer chase fame or success, because I know true happiness isn't found there. It lies deeply within the simple things, in the moments when we connect with our hearts. Sarah, she has always been there, quietly watching over me through the years. And after all the upheavals in my life, I can distinctly feel the change in her. She no longer looks at me with the same doubtful eyes as before. It seems as though all the invisible walls between us have disappeared, replaced by the closeness and warmth we once shared. We have endured long nights filled with pain and trials, and now, our love is stronger than ever. Each smile, each glance from her brings peace, as if we have journeyed together for a long time and rediscovered ourselves. I don't want these changes to stop with me, I want to share them with others. I've started building a non-profit organization, a place where those who are lost can find light. I believe that my story will be a source of inspiration, a small flame that can change someone's life. The fear of death has slowly faded away, and I realize that death is not the end but a transformation of the soul, stepping into another realm. The experiences along this journey no longer confuse me. Instead, I now see death as a liberation, opening a door to continue the eternal journey. I no longer view it as something to fear, but as part of the process of transformation. As time passes, I feel small changes within myself, like the steady rhythm of the universe's breath. Each morning, I no longer feel an invisible fatigue. Instead, I feel life in every cell, joint, and emotion. This life has become a sacred connection, reminding me of something greater than myself. I don't have all the answers, but I've learned to live fully with the unanswered questions. One afternoon, as I stood watching the cloudy sky, a strange sense of peace washed over me. I was no longer afraid of death. Death, which used to be an obsession, now became a part of the eternal truth that I could no longer deny. On that flight, when I faced death, I realized it was not an end. It is simply the expansion of the soul, a doorway leading into dimensions I can't fully understand. Death is never an ending, but a rebirth, the transformation of an eternal soul. I've come to understand that we, each of us, are only temporary souls carrying these bodies, here in this world to learn, to experience, and to love. My soul is at peace now, strangely so. Everything, all the challenges and hardships I've faced, seems to have a deeper purpose. My encounter with God was not just a miracle, but a wake-up call, an invaluable gift. It helped me see everything around me in a new light, realizing that every act of love, no matter how small, holds immense value. This life, no matter how difficult or challenging, carries with it a divine purpose, and sometimes, only with faith, can we truly feel it. One morning, I received a call from Sarah. Her voice, now gentler and warmer, no longer held the worry it once did. "I understand now, John," Sarah said, her voice coming through the phone, full of emotion. "I may not be able to fully grasp what you've been through, but I know you've found your path." At that moment, I couldn't help but smile. A wave of happiness surged inside me. In that moment, I realized that change doesn't always happen immediately, and not everyone can understand right away. But I also understood that love, patience, and understanding can heal all wounds. And that's what I needed. The feeling that Sarah understood me, and that I understood her, made me believe we would continue this journey together. The road ahead may not always be easy, but I am no longer afraid. We will walk together, with the faith that everything will be okay. Since that day, I entered a new phase of my life, a phase I never dared to dream of. I'm no longer the person caught in endless races, no longer the one relentlessly chasing desires that could never be satisfied. My life now, though simple, is filled with meaning. I find joy in the simple things, in taking care of my family, in sharing the valuable lessons I learned from that flight. I am no longer a seeker, but someone who lives fully, someone who wants to help those still lost, so they, too, can find the light in the darkness. I don't consider myself a teacher or an inspiration. I'm just an ordinary person who has found awakening in life, and I want to share that with anyone willing to listen. My talks are not academic lectures or difficult philosophies. I don't want anyone to sit and listen to me impart knowledge, but to share honest stories, vibrant lessons about love, forgiveness, and connection. That's all, and I feel that's enough. One afternoon, as I sat with old friends, I noticed the change in them. They were no longer the skeptical people they once were, questioning life, but ones who were ready to embrace life in a new way. They had started to see life with different eyes, with love and gratitude. And in that moment, I realized that, even though I'm just a small part of their story, I can still make a difference. I felt a warm joy spreading in my heart because I knew that, at least, I had done something meaningful. "John, thank you," one friend looked at me, his eyes lighting up with newfound understanding. "Because of your story, I've changed the way I see life. I'm no longer afraid of the unknown. I know now that this life has a purpose, and I will find it." Those words were gentle, yet they felt like a blessing, like a fresh breeze sweeping through my soul. That feeling was as if I had found the perfect piece to complete my life. Everything now is no longer just existence, but a journey full of meaning, a journey not only to seek but to share. Every morning when I wake up, I feel the magical sensation of knowing I'm still alive, that I have another day to love, to experience, to find those simple yet meaningful moments. Death, the thing I once feared and rejected, is now just a vague door, a step in the endless journey of the soul. I no longer seek perfection. I no longer long to become someone else, because I've come to understand that life isn't about perfecting oneself. Life, in fact, is about daring to live authentically, living truthfully with oneself, with desires and dreams that sometimes are just fleeting sparks passing through a moment. These days, when I sit by the window looking out, I lose myself in thoughts about that fateful flight, the flight where my heart stopped, and I entered a space that words can't fully describe. That space had no time, no boundaries, no pain or fear. It only had love and infinite love, vast like the ocean, requiring no explanation, only to be felt with the heart. I clearly remember the moment when I realized that death is not the end of everything but just a new beginning. A beginning I can't see with my eyes, but I can feel it in every cell, in every breath I take. Not everything in life is easy to understand, and I still don't know what the ultimate purpose of all I've experienced is. But I know that the events in life, whether joyful or sorrowful, dark or bright, all have their reasons. Every experience, every sorrow, every happiness, they are all steps that guide me toward new horizons. I once thought life was a series of questions that would never have answers. But now, I understand that not everything needs an answer. Life, it turns out, is about accepting the questions, living with them, and loving oneself even when all the answers aren't there. I smile to myself, feeling a deep sense of peace within. Every breath now is no longer just a means of survival, but a miracle, a gift I've received from the universe. Strangely, I find myself loving life more than ever, loving every moment that passes, even the sadness, the pain, because they make me feel the value of every happy moment even more. Death is not an end, it's not a fear. To me, death now is simply a transformation, a way for me to step into a new chapter of my soul's eternal journey. Every moment I live, every breath I take, is a step closer to understanding and harmony with myself. And I know, one day, I will leave, but I will leave with a heart full of love, no regrets, no fear. Because I have lived, I have loved, and I have truly experienced everything this life has to offer. My new life, though imperfect, is a journey I have chosen to live with all that I have, with love and peace in my heart. And I know, one day, I will look back on this journey and smile, because I have lived every moment fully. Each day, each breath, is a sacred gift that I will cherish forever, until the final moment. Because I understand now that in this life, death is just a beginning. Thank you for joining me on this miraculous journey. I hope the near-death stories we've explored together will open up new perspectives on life, death, and the mysteries that we have yet to explain. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next videos, where you'll step into a mysterious world where science and the supernatural intersect. Let's continue to explore and experience things that few dare to believe. Thank you for being with me, and I'll see you in the next video.